Have you ever wondered how a generation of children who grew up in absolute freedom could become the most cautious parents in history? Let's turn back the clock to a time when the concept of raising children was completely different from the strict standards we see today. That was the period of the 1970s, when elementary school kids could freely turn the streets into their own personal playgrounds without any supervision from adults. If we view the parenting methods from half a century ago through the lens of today's society, many people would certainly feel extremely shocked. Number 1. Long-distance travel without a seat. Let's start by observing the standard family car from back in the day. Today, installing a child's car seat requires a thorough level of technical skill, and sometimes even a professional inspection. However, in the 70s, a car seat was just a flimsy plastic bucket. This plastic bucket was only temporarily hooked over the front seats, so the baby could get a better view of the dashboard, that's all. For the older kids in the family, the seatbelts in the car seemed like nothing more than decorative items with no real practical use whatsoever. Throughout those long and tiring road trips, the kids spent their time doing everything except sitting obediently and safely in play. You could freely crawl over the rows of seats, even wrestle with your siblings right there on the floor of the moving car. The little ones would fiercely compete with each other to claim the ultimate prize in the car, the space in the very back. That was a wide, flat area used for hauling cargo in the old station wagons. In that space, you could comfortably stretch out your arms and legs, just like a starfish. If your family was driving at night, you could fall sound asleep, sprawled out on the rear window parcel shelf. Danger was always lurking, but it seemed like no one realized the devastating consequences if an accident happened. In an emergency, if your mom had to slam on the heavy drum brakes, you would be in real danger. The only safety mechanism you had in that dangerous moment was your mom's right arm. That arm would instinctively shoot out and stretch across your chest to keep you from slamming forward. It was truly a high-speed, free-for-all survival struggle that was incredibly terrifying and impossible to predict the outcome of. From today's legal perspective, just some side information for you to compare. This behavior would be a serious violation of road safety laws, and modern parents would have their driver's license revoked immediately. Number 2. The latchkey lifestyle. In today's modern era, leaving a 9-year-old child home alone for 3 hours after school is reason for a major neighborhood scandal. However, in the 1970s, this was instead an extremely common cultural movement. Society during this period witnessed an increase in families where both parents started working to earn money. Because of the adult's busyness, you would be given a very heavy brass house key. This key was usually loosely strung onto a dirty shoelace, and you had to wear it around your neck like a dog tag. Every day you would walk home from school by yourself, unlock the door, and step into a completely empty, silent house. And you officially became the one in command. You had to handle everything around you without any direct support or supervision. In that quiet space, you would prepare for yourself a snack that was extremely questionable in terms of nutrition as well as safety. This process usually involved using a toaster oven or a giant microwave the size of a television set from that time. After eating, you would entertain yourself alone until 6 p.m. with no one managing you. In that era, there were absolutely no cell phones for parents to call and check on your situation at home. Instead of extreme worry, your parents in the 70s had a very simple way of thinking. They simply assumed that if the house wasn't actually on fire when they drove into the driveway in front of the house, then everything that afternoon had gone according to plan. From a news perspective, this indifference did not stem from malicious intent, but was due to the social circumstances of the time that forced children to become independent early. However, according to current legal standards for protecting minors, reference information from external sources, this act of neglecting children could be considered a serious crime of negligence. Number 3. Go buy stimulants. Try imagining a 10-year-old child in today's era walking into a convenience store. That child drops a handful of crumpled dollar bills on the checkout counter and boldly demands that the clerk sell him a pack of cigarettes along with a 6-pack of beer. That store would certainly be locked down in seconds, and the authorities would be called. However, in the 70s, a child going to buy Vices was just a standard little errand on any given Tuesday. Your dad would hand you a note with handwritten text on a torn piece of paper. The content of that note was usually simply, "Give Tommy a carton of Pall Malls and a case of Schlitz." This flimsy authorization slip was what legalized a child having access to adult products. Once assigned the task, you would happily pedal your heavy Schwinn bicycle down to the corner grocery store. You boldly handed that intimidating note to the store clerk, and he would happily bag up those items for you. You balanced the case of beer on your handlebars and pedaled home in an extremely proud mood. You felt like an important member who was making a positive contribution to the household economy. The most surprising thing was that no one at the store asked to see any identification. That handwritten note from some man named Gary was considered legally binding. The loose regulatory system of that period created a major loophole. If this action were to occur in the present day under current commercial laws, supplementary information from external sources, both the seller and the father would face very severe administrative or criminal penalties. Number 4. The car sealed out of cigarette smoke. Today, forcing a child to be exposed to secondhand cigarette smoke is an act that is strongly condemned by society. However, in the 1970s, an atmosphere filled with cigarette smoke was the default state. Smoking was not just a personal habit, but was also considered an indoor sport, and the family car was the main arena. Try imagining a long family road trip, right in the middle of freezing January. Because the weather outside was freezing, all the windows in the car were sealed tightly shut. The heater in the car was turned on at full blast to keep warm, and both your dad and mom were continuously smoking unfiltered cigarettes in the front seat. Air circulation was completely eliminated, turning the small space inside the car into a chamber full of smoke. After just a short time, the air in the back of the car would turn into a thick, dense blue fog filled with toxic smoke. If you happened to cough or dared to complain that your eyes were watering from the sting, your dad would show his leniency by cracking his window open exactly half an inch. This tiny gap was completely insufficient to dilute the thick, heavy smoke hanging all around you. As a result, you had to spend the entire 3-hour drive to your grandparents' house breathing pure exhaust smoke. And when the whole family finally arrived, every member smelled exactly like the old carpet of a bowling alley. According to modern medical studies outside this data source, inhaling secondhand smoke causes serious lung damage in children, which explains why this behavior is now banned in many countries around the world. The nostalgia for a period of fearless freedom has always been a topic that attracts the interest of many cultural and social researchers. Number 5. Parking lots become waiting rooms. Today, forcing a child to be exposed to secondhand cigarette smoke is an act that is strongly condemned by society. However, in the 1970s, the family car was essentially considered a temporary and completely free childcare center. This is a completely wrong and potentially very risky notion. If your mother has to go into the grocery store, the bank, or even a local pub, she won't bother you. She wouldn't drag 3 unruly children inside with her. Instead, she'd pull over, turn off the engine, and roll down the windows a few inches to make sure you didn't suffocate. Then she would say, "I'll be right back. Don't touch the radio." After that instruction, you were left alone in the scorching sun for 45 minutes. The temperature inside the car can skyrocket to dangerous levels. You'll kill time by fiddling with the car's manual window cranks. At the same time, you have to endure a burning sensation on your thighs when sitting on those scorching hot vinyl-covered chairs. This experience was not only physically damaging, but also incredibly unpleasant. Not only did you have to contend with the terrible heat, But you also had to constantly struggle and fight with your siblings. Everyone was vying to see who would be allowed to sit in the driver's seat and pretend to be driving the car. According to modern law, see additional information, leaving children unsupervised in a car, especially in harsh weather, will almost certainly result in parents facing imprisonment for child abuse. Number 6. Adventure games in pickup trucks. Just sitting inside a closed car without a seatbelt was already incredibly dangerous. However, if your family owned a pickup truck, the danger level was taken to a whole new height, one where you had to face strong winds whipping you right in the face. This vehicle used to be an extremely common mode of transportation for families in the past. When the truck was about to take off, if there were too many people to squeeze into the front cab, the kids were handled in a very simple way. They were tossed into the open metal bed of the pickup truck. You would have to sit perched on the wheel wells, completely unsecured and with no barriers whatsoever. Meanwhile, your dad would confidently merge onto the interstate and take off at 65 miles per hour. As the truck moved at high speed, every time it hit a pothole in the road, you would actually get launched into the air. You had to use every bit of grip strength from your little childhood hands to hold tight to the metal sides of the truck bed. That was the only way you wouldn't bounce up and fly straight out into the oncoming lane of traffic. Your life depended entirely on those skinny little arms. The experience was both terrifying and thrilling. But the most surprising part was that it was completely legal at the time. We usually arrived at our destination with wind-burned faces, tangled hair, and a deep respect for the laws of physics. If these scenes were to happen in the 21st century, based on modern traffic laws outside the provided data, the driver would certainly face criminal prosecution for the intentional endangerment of a child. Number 7. The pain from mercurochrome. Modern first aid focuses on gentleness, including the use of antibacterial foam, gentle cleansing wipes, and character-themed adhesive bandages featuring cartoon figures. In contrast, first aid in the 1970s was closely associated with a tiny little glass bottle decorated with an image of a skull and crossbones. This was a clear poison warning symbol. If you unfortunately fell off your bike and scraped your knee deep down to the bone, your mom wouldn't take you to the urgent care clinic. Instead, she would bring you into the bathroom and open the medicine cabinet. There, she would pull out a bottle of red liquid medicine called mercurochrome or merthiolate. This was a crude and psychologically haunting treatment method for any child who went through it back in those days. Your mom would casually use the tiny glass wand attached to the bottle cap to apply that neon red liquid onto your raw, inflamed, open wound. The pain from the original injury seemed like nothing compared to the burning, agonizing chemical fire that hit when that medicine touched your exposed skin. This solution created a sensation of freezing cold mixed with intense, burning heat, making you scream out in pure desperation. In response to your screams, your mom would calmly tell you to just blow on the wound to ease the sting. And right after that, you would be sent right back outside with a brightly glowing orange knee. That wound would stay permanently dyed that color for the next 3 weeks, thanks to the chemical. According to expanded medical information, the FDA eventually banned mercurochrome because of the risk of mercury poisoning, which is clear evidence of the lack of medical safety in the past. Number 8. Sunburn is recommended. Today, parents are always chasing their kids down the beach with SPF 70 sunscreen spray bottles. They feel absolutely terrified of even the tiniest UV ray. However, going back to the 1970s, parents back then actively encouraged you to cook your skin under the harsh sunlight. During this period, sunscreen basically didn't exist, and if it did, almost no one bothered to use it. The ultimate goal of those summer days was to get your skin as dark and tanned as humanly possible, and parents led by example. Moms would regularly slather their bodies with baby oil, sometimes mixing in a few drops of iodine, and then lie on a reflective silver foil blanket in the backyard. Meanwhile, the kids were free to run and play around the pool all day long, with absolutely no protection whatsoever. The inevitable consequence of this excessive sun exposure was bright red, blistering sunburns that were incredibly painful and kept you tossing and turning, unable to sleep at night. The lack of understanding about the dangers of ultraviolet rays caused this entire generation to suffer serious, long-term skin damage for many years afterward. When you complained about the pain, the only advice you received from your parents was simply, "It'll turn into a beautiful tan in just a few days." Peeling off giant sheets of dead skin from your sunburned shoulders by hand was considered nothing more than a fun summer arts and crafts project. In today's medical context, information from outside sources, this behavior is strongly condemned because of the extremely high risk of causing melanoma. Number 9. Picking up strangers for a ride. Stranger danger is the unbreakable golden rule in modern child-rearing philosophy. This rule dictates that you are not allowed to talk to strangers, you are not allowed to accept candy from strangers, and especially, you are absolutely never permitted to invite a stranger into a confined space with your own children. However, the 1970s were a different era, where people trusted one another more, and frankly, it was terrifyingly reckless. If your family was driving on a rural highway and saw a guy with a duffel bag sticking his thumb out, your dad would hit the brakes and stop the car. Without any hesitation, he would be willing to open the car door for that stranger to get in with the whole family. Your dad would turn around and tell the kids, "Move over, kids, make some room." And just like that, you suddenly had to share the cramped back seat of the station wagon with an anonymous drift. This guy might be named Dr. Sunshine, with a body reeking of patchouli mixed with the smell of cheap wine. The safety of the entire family was completely left to the unpredictable nature of this unknown roadside traveler. This stranger would ride with your family all the way to the border of the next state. Throughout that ride, he would tell incredibly bizarre stories while your parents happily chatted away with him. This carefree attitude, when placed in today's complex social context and compared with modern criminology safety guidelines, expanded information, would certainly be viewed as an act of placing children in extremely dangerous situations and a serious case of negligence. Number 10. Curfew according to streetlights. Finally, the 10th thing is also the most easily arrestable behavior according to today's legal standards: the act of kicking children out of the house so they can play completely unsupervised. Modern children usually have playdates that are perfectly scheduled and arranged and are always placed under strict adult supervision. Losing contact with a child for even just a few minutes is enough to cause extreme panic for parents in today's society. Completely the opposite. In the 1970s, your parents would often fling open the front door at 9 a.m., shove you outside, and lock the screen door tightly behind you. You would be given the order to go play in the woods, bike all the way to the next town over, or even you could freely mess around in the dirt at local construction sites. The concept of safety or construction barriers for young children was something that was completely ignored. Throughout that entire long day, there was absolutely no supervision from adults whatsoever. Your parents really didn't know a single bit of information about where you were, who you were playing with, or what kind of mischief you were getting into. The responsibility of staying alive and protecting yourself fell entirely on the individual survival instincts of each child as they faced the vast outside world on their own. The only rule, and the most sacred, unbreakable law of the entire decade, was that you had to be home at the exact second the streetlights started flickering on. However, the act of locking children out and abandoning them to roam unsupervised all day long is now classified by social welfare experts, outside information, as child abandonment, a serious crime under modern law. The nostalgia for a period of fearless freedom has always been a topic that attracts the interest of many cultural and social researchers. The way families operated their daily lives truly reflected the core values they honored during that period. The spirit of independence was valued more than absolute safety, and stumbles were seen as stepping stones, leading children into the world of adulthood. There were no modern warning systems or advanced medical support tools, but the previous generation still found ways to grow up and powerfully overcome every obstacle. Be brave enough to confess and share your spectacular childhood survival stories in the comments below this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more fascinating journeys back in time. Your enthusiastic support has been a great help to us and ensures that you won't miss any interesting news from the past in our upcoming newsletters. Until we meet again, goodbye.